Hi. I believe we are live, and it's really great to be with you. Just getting the chat set up. Hello, beautiful beings of the light. Hope everyone is having an amazing day. I'm here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee, a place I just love, and it's really sunny, and the fall foliage is just lovely. So it's a great day to be in Tennessee. So without further ado, let's get into it. We are talking today about how to connect with your higher self. So, first of all, why is this important? Why is this helpful? Why would we even want to connect with our higher self? I'll just share a little bit of my own story, and then we're going to go into some really simple, straightforward practices for you to really easily connect with your higher self. So, for most of my life, I was really cut off from myself, from every aspect of myself, my dreams, my feelings, my desires, and my own internal guidance, my own connection with my higher self. And this really led to me unwittingly creating a very catastrophic life for myself, because I was just completely cut off from myself, from my dreams, from my feelings, from my preferences, and from that most all-important sacred guidance from my higher self. So my path in this lifetime has been to experience being so cut off from my higher self, and then seeing the results of that, and then coming back to myself, starting to connect much more with myself, my dreams, my feelings, my preferences, and most importantly, my guidance. And over the course of time, I have really been able to turn around my life. I would say really a 180 from a very catastrophic life where I was in a marriage that was really not working. I had a breast cancer diagnosis. I did not have a career or a following my life purpose in any way. I was very unhappy where I was living. I was living in South Florida at the time, and probably really the biggest catastrophic area was just my internal experience. I really lived in depression and anxiety and a lack of clarity. And there were just many periods over the course of this part of my life where I really didn't want to be on the planet. I really didn't want to be in this life that did not feel like my life. It felt like I was living a mishmash of other people's agendas for my life, as I had so turned away from my own guidance and really was listening to this mishmash of other people's agendas and their ideas for me and my life. So I can't even tell you how passionate I am about this topic, because I have lived it both ways. I have lived not connected to my higher self, and I've experienced all the repercussions of that. And now I am living very much in connection with my higher self, and I am living all the really amazing benefits, outcomes, gifts of that. And maybe I'll go more into that a little bit later. But let's just get into these practices that I want to share. These are all really straightforward. You can do them today. They're nothing really fancy or complicated or requires a lot of additional learning. So the first practice is in order to more fully connect with your higher self, with your precious guidance, is to spend time alone. And I'll just share, this was very, very hard for me. I'm a Libra. I'm very social. I love to be with people. So spending time alone was really not what I wanted to do. The way I see it, I believe that spirit has isolated me actually for several years so that I would really establish this very close connection with my higher self. So basically 6 years ago or so, I started to spend a lot of time alone because I was in a divorce situation and with shared custody of my children, and I had just moved to beautiful Tennessee and I didn't know anyone, and I was finishing up my dissertation, so I wasn't in a work environment. So the upshot of that is I ended up spending an enormous amount of time alone. And this was so helpful in the end because I was able to really start to discern the voice of my higher self versus the voice of my thinking mind. And I had really lived my life in my thinking mind. And as I've been saying, really had turned away from the voice of my higher self. So I'm not sure where you might be on this journey of discernment of the voice of your higher self versus the voice of your thinking mind. But I believe it's really helpful when we spend time alone and we can just get more familiar with our internal experience. When we're around other people, it's distracting. We're talking to other people. We're taking on their energy. We're involved in other people, and of course, it's lovely. It's lovely to spend time with other people. I love to spend time with other people. Excuse me. But as a practice to really start to learn to connect more with your higher self, when you spend the time alone, you will just start to notice the nuances of what is happening internally. And I know for me, I started to hear, I would say, the whispers of my higher self when I started to spend time alone. And a really interesting aspect of all of this for me is part of the discernment that you can start to make, especially when you do spend some time alone and can give yourself more attention. Part of the discernment is, where is the voice coming from in my body? And it's really fun just to tune into that. So for me, at least, the voice of my higher self comes in this area, sort of in my chest and upper abdomen area. Sometimes it can feel like the voice is somewhat bubbling up from down here. Sometimes it can feel like it's kind of moving through in this area. And this is very distinctly different from what I can tell is the voice of my thinking mind, which I can feel is up here. So as you spend some more time alone, you can start to discern where the voice is coming from. And I just want to say hello to my dear friend, Deborah. Thank you, sweetheart, so much for tuning in. She says, Dr. Tassel, thank you for this afternoon inspiration. You are so welcome. My plan is to do these live streams maybe 3 times a week. Please let me know what is a good time for you all. I would love to see you all on these live streams. It's really fun. And Deborah, how is your day going so far, sister? So, okay, so spending time alone, and we can really start just to become more familiar with what is going on with us internally in our body and start to discern where are the voices coming from. The voice of my thinking mind. For me, I can feel it up here. The voice of my higher self, I can feel here. So that is one way to start making some discernments. So spending time alone, very, very, very helpful in so many ways. Spending time alone, there are always so many gifts that come through. Okay. The second very straightforward practice to connecting more fully with your precious higher self, so helpful, is to engage in activities where your mind is a bit distracted. Okay, and I just want to say hi to another beautiful being here. Hi, Yasmin. I'm so glad you're here. Yasmin says, this is great. Yay! I'm so glad. I love to share this information, love to interact with you beautiful sisters and brothers. So glad you're here. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me any questions. I just love the interaction. I'm a people person, right? I said I don't like spending time alone. Okay, so the second really simple, straightforward practice is to engage in activities where your mind is distracted. So I just sort of happened upon this practice by accident because years ago, during my very difficult divorce custody situation, I could really feel this intuition to do yoga. And of course, yoga is amazing. And I think particularly at that point in my life, it was just really, really helpful for a lot of reasons to do yoga. But what I noticed is during the yoga, often towards kind of the end, let's say I was doing like a 60-minute yoga practice, towards the end of the yoga and right after the yoga, I noticed a lot of downloads coming in. And at that time, I didn't even truly understand, oh, that's my higher self talking to me. I just felt like, oh my gosh, there's just a lot dropping in. Okay, and I know earlier I was talking about the voice of my higher self coming from here, but I do also have the experience of downloads, like chunks of information kind of dropping in from above. That is also an experience that I have. So the voice of my higher self seems to be down here, like in like a constant sort of chatter, constant guidance towards me. But then I do also experience these dropping ins of downloads. It feels like maybe it's coming through my crown chakra. So I just really started to notice, oh wow, when I do yoga, I get a lot of information. A lot of information comes in. And the way I see that is that my thinking mind is busy. It's busy. Okay, the thinking mind's like, okay, let's make the different poses, the different asanas for yoga. So the thinking mind is distracted. The thinking mind is occupied with moving the body around in the yoga poses. And what it seems like happens is when the thinking mind just goes offline a bit, it opens up more space for the higher self to come in this way or to come in this way or whatever way the higher self comes in for you. So I just really started to notice that, like, wow, every time I do yoga, I get a lot of information. And so that of course motivated me to do more yoga. And another activity I engage in where that also really seems to work well is cleaning. Any type of cleaning. I'm a single mom. I do clean quite a bit. And usually every morning I go around my house and clean a little and sort of put it back together. And I just want to say hello to another dear friend, Dean. Hi, Dean. So great. I'm so happy that you all are here. It's so much more fun just to say hi and to have a conversation with you all. So thank you so much, Deborah and Yasmin and Dean, for being here. I'm so grateful. I love you guys. So I, as I said, in the morning, I go around my house, I clean it, I put it back together, and that is a very fertile time for my higher self to just really bring through the guidance. I love to start my day cleaning because I know I'm going to get some really great intel from my higher self on the other side. And I'll just also share that I personally have never been that great at sitting in meditation. I'm not wired that way. It's very hard for me to just sit quietly with my eyes closed and meditate. So that may be a great way to get the higher self information. That just never has really worked for me. The way I guess I'm wired, I just do better when I'm doing something active. It seems easier for me to connect with my higher self when I'm actually, my mind is distracted and I'm doing something with my body that is active. Something else I want to say around this is I've also really noticed that when I first wake up in the morning, before I even get out of bed, when my mind is still partially asleep, that is another really fertile time for the guidance to come in, to really hear the voice of my higher self. And again, I think it's just my mind is not super active. My mind is not taking up all the bandwidth of the channel, right? And then another time I also really notice a lot of higher self guidance coming in is in the middle of the night. Many times I will wake up in the middle of the night, and I now usually see this as my higher self wanting to communicate with me. And maybe during the day, maybe my mind was so much in the bandwidth that she couldn't get through to me. So she thought, okay, Tassel, we're going to have a 3 a.m. little get together so I can give you some important information. So I notice a lot when I wake up in the middle of the night that I seem to be awake so that I can receive some intel from my higher self. So I notice that a lot as well. So, so just to recap, spending time alone, getting familiar with what is going on internally, including where does the voice seem to be coming from? And then number 2, engaging in activities where your mind is distracted. And you can just play around, make it kind of a science experiment. What do you notice? Doing different things. Where can I really sort of hear more that intuitive voice that's coming through? And then a third practice that I also think can be really helpful is, and this is more about getting basically your higher self's opinion on something. So this is not so much about getting the direct guidance, but about getting running things by your higher self. So let's say there is an opportunity that comes knocking on your precious front door. Knock, knock. Here's an opportunity. And let's say it's like a job opportunity. And there's this job. Let's say there's this job. There's this possible job out there. So try this practice. So I think it can help to close your eyes. You don't necessarily have to close your eyes, but we want to just be in our body. We want to be down here with some distance from this egoic thinking mind. So, okay, I'm in my body and I'm just feeling into this job, this possible job opportunity, just as an example. How does it feel in my body, this job opportunity, as I feel into it? As I feel into, well, what would it really be like working there? What would it really be like doing these things? So, does it feel expansive? Does it feel juicy? Does it feel somewhat exciting? If it feels that way, likely you are tuning in to your higher self, and she is saying, yes, that's a yes. Go for it. That's a yes. Now, and of course there's a spectrum of this, but on the opposite polarity, if you're tuning in your body, and it feels constricting, it feels yucky, it feels not good, then that's clearly a no from your higher self, right? It's pretty obvious. And then of course there might be, it could be a neutral, or it might be somewhere along that spectrum. But our body doesn't lie. Our body doesn't lie, because our body is holding the voice of our higher self. Our brain, our mind up here, is holding the voice of our egoic mind. Our egoic mind does lie. It lies all the time to us, in different ways, in rationalizing, in minimizing, in suppressing. So I'm a psychotherapist, and I hear all day long the beautiful people that I work with, sometimes they'll say things like, well, I don't really like my job, but, or I'm really not happy in my marriage, but. So when we feel a but coming on, we know we're not really 100% in our inner truth. We're not really in 100% in our alignment with our higher self when we start using buts. So the mind, it's there to help protect us. It does a beautiful job. Excuse me. We honor it. There's really no criticism here, but if we really want the truth, if we really want to be in alignment, if we really want to be on our path, we absolutely want to connect in with our body and the voice of our higher self. And Dean, thank you so much. This is a really helpful comment. Dean says, yes, I have a pad of paper and pen next to my bed. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I write down those higher thoughts. Oh, that's great. I do the same thing. Or sometimes I'll talk into my phone to record the info. Yeah, it's great, right? So much useful information comes in during the night when our mind, when our higher self can get to us. They're just like, hello, I've been wanting to tell you this, but you've been distracted, so I'm going to wake you up. I'm going to wake you up and tell you it now. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dean. I love that. So, yeah, so this third practice is just being in your body and noticing, how does it feel? So you can get any answer to any question by just checking in with your body about anything. You can just try this as a science experiment. One of my friends the other day said they were using this technique, and they were asking their body whether it was okay to eat some food in the refrigerator that my friend thought maybe had gone bad. And so he asked his body, and he got a response, and it actually seemed to be the right response. So so these are 3 simple, straightforward practices to connect more fully with your precious guidance. Spend time alone, engage in activities where your mind is distracted, and to get your higher self's opinion on something, go into your body and notice, how does it feel? Does it feel expansive, or does it feel more constrictive? And again, I just want to really emphasize that when we live in this alignment, when we live in communion basically with our higher self, when we live in accordance with our inner guidance, our lives, our external lives will show massive transformations. And our internal experience also really, really transforms. Because when we are living in alignment, we no longer experience the inner conflicts, the inner battles. Basically, the inner battles are between the thinking mind and your heart. We can also think of the heart as the heart mind, as the mind of your higher self. So if you are living in a lot of internal conflict right now, it's very possible that is because there is disagreement, basically, between your ego and your heart and your higher self. And I lived like that for many, many, many decades. And I'm intimately familiar with that path and the suffering of that path. I would say that is the path of suffering. The path of suffering is living outside of the guidance of your precious higher self. So, and what I want to share here is that the path of living 100% in accordance with your higher self, it doesn't mean that at times it's not, for instance, that fear doesn't come up. Yes, I would say at this point, 99% I'm living in accordance with my higher self. And it doesn't mean that it's all easy, and it doesn't mean that I don't have fear, but the fear is coming up from the thinking mind. The fear comes up, and I feel it, and then I go back. I go back to living in that alignment and feeling the voice of my higher self. So what I like to say is I visit with the fears that do come up at times, and I live in alignment with my higher self. So, and another way we can sort of discern the difference is when I used to live just in my thinking mind, in some ways, in sort of this, there was like illusions of security when you live in your thinking mind. Like, oh, okay, I'm at this job and it's secure. But of course it never is. There's no job where someone else has hired you that is ever secure, because anything could happen, right? So that's all a bit of the matrix programming, and really truly is an illusion. But the thinking mind, again, can lie and sort of trick itself into thinking that it is secure. So it's not even secure. And then on top of that, there's such a deadened feeling. There's such a deadened feeling when you are solely living from your thinking mind. That's how I would describe it. I just felt dead inside. Basically, because I wasn't present with what was inside of me. That's maybe how that would be explained. I felt dead inside of me because I was not connecting with what was inside of me, which was my dreams and my feelings and the guidance, the voice of my higher self coming through. So sort of like the illusions of security and then deadenedness. Yeah, who needs that? That sounds awful, right? And it is awful. And versus when we live in the alignment, when we live in accordance with our higher self, to me, there is such a feeling of aliveness. There's such a feeling of juiciness, of excitement, of expansion. I like to use the phrase, the screaming yes that comes in from the higher self when something is really aligned. Now, it doesn't mean that there might not be fear coming up, because our higher self is constantly inviting us to not be in our comfort zone. Partly we are down on this planet to expand. We're down on this planet for many, many reasons, but one of them is to expand and to try new things and to grow. And the only way to do that is when we move out of our comfort zone. So the voice of your higher self, that's another way to make a discernment. The voice of your higher self is usually advocating for you to step out of your comfort zone. And the voice of your thinking mind is usually advocating for you to stay in your comfort zone, right? Because the thinking mind, the egoic part of us is always trying to protect us. So that's another really easy discernment to make between the thinking mind and the higher self. Stay in your comfort zone, move out of your comfort zone. My higher self is just all the time like, go, 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 jump out of your comfort zone, tassel, and stay there. So I'd love to hear how any of you experience this with your comfort zone. If you can feel your higher self really asking you to jump out of your comfort zone versus the thinking mind maybe asking you to stay here, it's cozy. It's not scary. So I would say that the path of alignment with our higher self, it does help to have courage, right? Courage, faith, those are really helpful muscles to build in this life of alignment, in this life of living in accordance with our highest and best, with our highest consciousness. And I'll just say that in my own experience, the rewards of living in this way they're amazing. They are amazing. I would say I have been living very much outside of my comfort zone ever since I left my marriage, which was over 6 years ago at this point. And has there been fear? Yes, absolutely. Have I been able to develop my courage and my faith? Oh my goodness. My courage and my faith on this path have, I would say, just magically expanded. And at this point, I have just a complete trust of life, of my life path and what comes into my life. I do have some challenging things in my life, but I trust that they are serving my highest and best. And that is what I have experienced every time I've gone through a challenge, there's always been some amazing gift in that challenge. So I have absolute trust, faith, and courage in my life path. And I'll just share that, for instance, before I got on this live stream today, I hadn't done one of these in a very long time using the particular software that I use today. And I felt nervous. I felt scared around so many things. Would it technically work out? Would anyone be on the chat? Would I be all alone? Would I be able to speak articulately and hopefully offer some helpful information? All those fears come up. But you know what my biggest fear is? My biggest fear is regret. My biggest fear is not taking that leap of faith and not putting myself out there and staying in my comfort zone. That's my greatest fear. So for me, it's pretty easy to move through my fear because my number one fear is to be stagnant and not jump at life's opportunities and not try. That I fear that the most. That seems the most depressing to me. So to me, no matter how something works out, the success is just that I'm out there, I'm giving it my best, I'm all in, I'm trying. And then to me, that really is the definition of success. No matter how something actually pans out in the external reality, that I tried, that I showed up, that I gave it my best shot, that I put myself out there, that I moved through my fear. To me, that is success. So, awesome. Well, this was so fun. I'm just looking if I can tell how long we've been on. Let's see. Oh, okay, like 37 minutes. That's great. So my intention, as I said in the beginning, is to come back to doing these maybe at least 3 times a week. I really love to do them. I love to talk about these experiences and share, and I love to hear from the beautiful brothers and sisters that are tuning in. So please, if it feels resonant, I'd so appreciate it if you liked this video, if you subscribe to my channel, please leave a comment. All of those really help the YouTube algorithms, helps to grow my channel and to get these messages out to the world. I mean, can you imagine a world where predominantly we were all connected to our higher self? The guidance I get around that, and is quite obvious, is that is the definition of New Earth, because we all would basically be bringing through our divine higher self. So we would basically be living in a heaven on earth. So this, these practices of connecting more fully with your higher self and really living from your higher self's voice, it's life-changing, it's world-changing, it's universe-changing for us. So super, super important. And yeah, if anyone wants to let me know any topics you might be interested in, I'm open to any and all topics. And if there's any particular time of the day that is convenient for you, for me to come on and do these lives, let me know. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for tuning in, and so much love to everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye.